Well, we are excited today to talk about the manufacturing experience from a women's perspective. You know, here in the state of Florida, our workforce, women are integrated across every industry sector. However, in manufacturing, we need to do a better job of recruiting women leaders. And today, we have some of the finest in the state of Florida with us. We have women who are in manufacturing that will be able to share their story about why a career in manufacturing is a good thing to think about. Today we have with us several women. I will do a quick introduction and then we are going to allow them to answer questions. I'll feed some, but at some point we'd be happy to take some questions from the audience. Our first person, all the way to my far left, is Cindy Hildebrand. She is the president of CS Machine and Tool in Jacksonville. Our next speaker is Jessica Glover, Continuous Improvement Manager with Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems Americas in Orlando. We have Tara Matthews, Operations Manager for Stryker Mako in Fort Lauderdale. Barbara Manzi, President CEO of Manzi Metals. Next, Irene Zubalaga, former industrial engineering intern with MyTech USA, Tampa. And to my immediate left is Michelle Romsberg, Operations Technology Leader, Energizer Personal Care in Ormond Beach. Please give them a round of applause. Welcome, ladies, and thank you for your leadership and your passion and your excitement about careers in manufacturing and the idea that you can excel all the way up to top leadership in manufacturing. So let's begin with first, give us a 1 or 2 sentence about what you do in manufacturing. And I'm going to start to my far left. Cindy, give us 1 or 2 sentences about what you do in manufacturing.
I'm the buck stops here person. So I get involved if people are disagreeing on the shop floor or if they're, sometimes I have to bring people in and just have them sit together and work through an issue. I lead the brainstorming a lot of times and deal with accountants and the attorneys.
The best part.
Hello, I'm Jessica, and I facilitate our lean manufacturing activities. So it's my job to ensure that we do more with less year after year after year and implement our employees' ideas efficiently.
Tara Matthews, I'm the operations manager for Stryker in the robotics division. I'm responsible for the value stream from receiving inspection through the warehouse, through production manufacturing, and then back out the door. So making sure we build robots on time.
I'm Barbara Manzi. We're a multi-metals distribution center. We deal in aluminum, stainless, high temperature alloys, and bar sheet and plate. And we do cut to size, and we're very involved in quality assurance.
Hi, I'm Irene Subizaga. I was an intern in MyTech USA. So pretty much as an intern does, helps out with everything that gets thrown at you. So it was really interesting. You get to experience absolutely everything that has to do with manufacturing, from how everything works together, from the product that comes in to how to increase product facility capacity and things like that. So pretty much, I don't have anything specific, but I have everything.
My name's Michelle Romsberg. I work with Energizer Personal Care in Ormond Beach, and my role as Operations Technology Leader is to evaluate the current product portfolio within our liquid products, understanding the capability and capacity of our manufacturing sites to say whether it should be done internally or externally. And then in addition to that, I make recommendations and cost justifications if we were to move it from internal to external manufacturing. With new products developed, I get involved early to influence costing and also current capabilities to optimize our manufacturing capabilities that are already there, instead of just taking some creative ideas and making it a less cost-effective product as we move forward with it.
So for those of you viewing this, you will see that opportunities in manufacturing are very diverse. And the idea that you can plug in at many different levels is certainly there for you. You know, there may be questions by individuals to think, well, how could I get into manufacturing? How many of you began as either an intern, or you did job shadowing, or you had a chance for an opportunity to spend the day and really see what it was about? Raise your hand. Who started out that way? Awesome. So you can see that there's a chance for you to have the opportunity to explore various kinds of careers. You know, many people think, well, maybe I have to have a certain degree, or I might need to have a certification. What do you all think? Each of us, tell us what sort of path you had from education going into manufacturing. Why don't we start off with Tara?
So I would say I indirectly got into manufacturing. I looked into when I was starting out in college, and I was like, what do I like to do? And I liked medicine, and I liked knowing how things worked. So I went into biomedical engineering. And then I would say I kind of tested things along the way, and I figured out what I didn't like. So I didn't like research, and I worked with Penn State in a chemistry lab. I'm like, okay, I can't be in a chemistry lab all the time. That's not for me. And then as I went throughout my progression in college, it really was important that I tried all these different avenues. And I fell into manufacturing because I found out I really enjoyed seeing at the end of the day that product come off the line and say, I was able to help make sure that happened. So I would say that it boils down to doing something that you love, something that you enjoy doing, getting the education behind it so that you're being successful, and you know, and trying challenges and trying new things and going outside of your comfort zone.
Barbara, what about you?
Well, I started out with purchasing on-the-job training, so I was very fortunate. I'm one of 12 children, and got involved with Royce Aerospace in Long Island, New York. And as a buyer, I was the buyer for the Patriot missile for Raytheon Missile System Division. And thought, after getting an award and seeing a room of 1,500 people, I thought, I love this trade, and it's a passion, and it's saving American lives, more importantly. And I just went for it, and just decided that, you know, I couldn't get enough of material. I started off in affirmative action days, and affirmative actions said, hey, you know what, you're an American citizen, you should be opening up your own business. And I thought I could do that, and I did. And here it is 25 years later, with 35 years in the industry, and 12 employees, up to 24, 10,800 square feet, and dealing with all the primes throughout the United States and the UK.
We love everyone that goes into a startup and creates a business, but certainly pleased with our women leaders in this state that do this. Jessica, what about you? What was your education or career path to get into manufacturing?
Well, it started with the love of machines in my dad's woodworking shop, and it kind of just escalated from there. I actually thought I wanted to be a civil engineer at first when I was at school at UCF, and I took an intro to engineering course there and learned about all the different facets of engineering that I could get into, and realized I wanted to be more hands-on. How could I do that? That's when I got into industrial engineering, and through the co-op office at UCF, they got me in touch with Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems, and so I did an internship there for 1.5 years and loved what I did so much that took on a position there full-time and have been with them ever since, over 8 years now.
Outstanding. Irene, you had a very different path that you're currently on.
Yes, I actually graduated from high school in Venezuela, and I came here 2.5 years ago to study mechanical engineering because my dad was a mechanical engineer, and I always loved like to know how things work. Every time a toy would break, I would like put it open or whatever. So after I started like my career, I got into research with one of my professors, and he showed me a side of industrial engineering that I didn't know before. So I fell in love, and I switched. I never even started mechanical yet, but I switched to industrial. And I started looking for experience because I feel that's the really way to know that you're doing what you love. So I was looking for internships, and I got in touch with Ken and with an internship with MyTech, and I just fell in love with everything. It's just how the machines work, how you can improve the capacity of the machine itself, how you can do inventory. There's so many things about manufacturing. It's just impossible to get bored, and that's what pretty much got me to fall in love with it.
Well, everyone wants to have a job where they never get bored. How exciting is that? Cindy, what about you? What was your path?
Extremely different. I'm probably the oldest, very definitely, I'm the oldest person up here. The world was a lot different when I came out of high school than it is even today, but it was a whole lot different than that for my mother. When I put a lamp together that comes in a kit, my mother calls me an electrician. She did nothing with her hands. She learned nothing. My father was a mechanic. My brother is a mechanic. They had their own shops. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. We came from that line, so we all ended up in our own businesses. That's how I did that. But out of high school, I was in a cooperative business education program at the high school level. We worked half days in our senior year, but all the way back to junior high school, which is now called middle schools, we had to choose a path, whether we were going to college or business or one of the trades. My husband actually learned to be a machinist in high school. There was a program in the high school. When I chose a business path, my English from that point on had all related to the business world. My maths all related to the business world. We did bookkeeping, we did accounting, we did classes where we actually learned how your voice sounds over a phone. As far as the education we got at the high school level in how to be employed, it is head and shoulders above what you get today. And if I have one message that I keep preaching, we have got to back up and teach people how to be employed. Those basic soft skills of how to be employed is so important, and that's what we got way back. So everything in the olden days wasn't bad. and I'm here to keep preaching that message. But going forward from that, when I got to thinking about these questions we were going to be asked, every company I worked in, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, does anybody know what that is? AMP. AMP had a divisional office in Jacksonville, Florida, and I went into the purchasing department. We related very much and worked with the accounting department. I worked there 2 years, and then I went to operations, learned a lot about operations and how it related to the rest of the corporation. Then I spent 2 years in maintenance and construction and learned an awful lot about maintaining equipment and tracking serial numbers. So at every point in my path at AMP, and then later at Southeast Toyota for 10 years, and running quality circles and learning what we were doing in the shops and giving tours and all the things that I learned and did there, there was one common denominator. I had someone who saw something in me that brought me along and pushed me along way before I saw it. So today I get to do that for other people. And I think that's what we have to do. And education never stops. Every time I needed to learn something, I went and took courses. Yeah, I do not have a bachelor's degree. I have a 2-year degree. I don't have a bachelor's. But I have a lot of education.
Well, that's important. It is continuing education
Continuing.
throughout your entire lifetime. And what's exciting is that we can look back on the good old days, but manufacturing is innovative. Manufacturing is high tech, high touch. It is the future for our company, and we want men and women to see that excitement.
Can I say one other thing about that? I tell my people to always keep their resume current. Not that I want them to leave me, but I want you 5 years from now to be the person I'm looking for. And through the ongoing programs with the trade schools, that's the only way that you can keep current and know what's going on.
Michelle, share with us your path to your current position through education and various jobs, because it wasn't always in the state of Florida.
That's correct. So I'm going to give you a brief background of my family. father is a printer, or was, he's retired now, and my mother was an accountant, not by degree, but just by function. And my mother was one of 10 children who was the only child to graduate from high school on time. Others have pursued their GED, but she was the only one. So I was brainwashed very early on that education was important and I was going to college. So I knew this in high school. I loved chemistry, loved biology, loved math, and physics, but chemistry, very good. So in my junior year in high school, I really was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And my high school chemistry teacher had brought in some different people just to talk about what they do. And he brought in a chemical engineer to discuss what chemical engineers do, because I had no idea. Again, my father's a printer, my mom is an accountant. So the chemical engineer was explaining what they did as a profession, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting and very cool. So I started to look more into it, and I did. I ended up going to school to become a chemical engineer, and as I got into chemical engineering in university, I figured out, I don't want to be in research or do design. I probably want to be in a manufacturing plant. So I had an opportunity to do an internship, first of all, because I was heavily school-owned and I really wanted a summer job. But second of all, I really wanted to go into a plant to see if that's what I really wanted to do when I graduated. And once I got there in a specialty chemical plant with a very old union, which makes no difference, except that it was a very established place. Being a woman in manufacturing, there was not a lot of us there, so I'm in my hard hat at the time in the early 90s, the big thick safety glasses, because they came in 2 styles, and the steel toe boots, and I was like, this is really cool. And that was my introduction to manufacturing in a specialty chemical plant with the 6-story distillation columns and that sort of thing. And as I got into it, the engineering part of it was fascinating, but I also wanted to get more into the business. So at that point, I pursued my MBA at night and have gotten my MBA. So I have the engineering aspect, which has helped me with what I do today, but the applied business part of it and to justify the continued improvements is also equally important. So that's my path.
We've heard everything from an A degree to a master's degree, but Jessica, why don't you take a second? Are there certain courses or certifications or qualifications that you think most people who are interested in going into manufacturing should think about for a career path?
I don't think there's certain ones that people have to have. For sure, there is no A-type mold that each manufacturer is looking for. I just know that there are so many available and out there looking for candidates to fill them and to take these courses. It's anything from Six Sigma to if you're getting into a trade school and you want to go into machining or welding or something along those lines. For myself, I was certified as a Kaizen instructor right out of school so that I could implement lean manufacturing. So that's specialized for me. Everybody up here, it wouldn't work for them to be a Kaizen instructor. That just doesn't fit the mold. But the point is, there's so many resources available. You just have to look for them and know, kind of get a feel for what you want to get into. One way you can do that is through a mentor. Find some mentor that can help you and guide you through the path to manufacturing and get you in touch with certain certifications, because I can't list every website up here and I can't talk about every single one that's available. I know I'd miss hundreds, but there are mentors at every school, and for me personally through the co-op office or someone in your family that can get you in touch with the right information and the right certifications to further your career, because those resources are available.
Well, I think that's right. What this says is you need to do a little investigation yourself and figure out where opportunities might be in your area, and then who can help you further explore those. But what I have is a sense from all of you that a career in manufacturing is one that you fell in love with. You see a great career path through the process. But you know, Irene, you are the youngest on the panelists, the one that I think you could most articulate the excitement of beginning the journey. Tell us why you fell in love with manufacturing.
Well, pretty much, I'm the kind of person, like my friends say that I'm hyper. It's like I cannot sit in a class and just like be sitting. Like right now, I'm making an effort because I need to like be moving all the time. So it's like I cannot have a job that I get bored. Like that's something that cannot happen for me. I need something that I can love, that I can do so many things with it that I am overwhelmed. I want options. I want, many people like how they say it's like you get out of college and you have no idea what to do. Well, why don't you find a career choice that you have so many things to do that it doesn't matter if you don't like something because you can go somewhere else. It's simply the fact that it's like when you go to manufacturing, you can go from one day you can be working in inventory, the next day you can be working in forecasting, the next day you can be working in product quality, the next day you can be working in waste reduction. There is so many things which is with manufacturing that is just, there's no way you can get bored with it. And it's just beautiful to see that, like, for me, it's like, as a woman, it's like, I feel it's so empowering that you can just go to work one day and it's like, at the end of the day, you know, like, I made this small change and I knew how to lead the way so we could implement it, and I ended up saving thousands of dollars or making this so much better. It's like, that is so powerful to be able to say, I did this. So it's like with manufacturing, no matter what small change, no matter what, like, that small idea that you may have, that little change that it's like, oh, why don't we just try to do it this way today? That kind of ended up saving thousands and thousands of dollars. And also manufacturing is such a beautiful career to just keep learning, because maybe you will try that small change and it ended up being not as good. So it's like, well, it's okay because we can try the next day. We can keep learning. I can learn every single day of my life, and that's something that I would never give up.
And excuse me, I'd like to add to that. The excitement is obvious, and the continued improvement and making the process better is really part of, or if that's not part of what your DNA, manufacturing probably isn't for you, but it is part of the passion of manufacturing. But one of the things that you said is manufacturing touches a lot of things. So I have lived in a lot of different states and worked with several companies. But the products that I've touched started with specialty chemicals, and then I went into cigarettes, and then I went into drugs, the legal kind. And then I've made specialty ceramics, and then I went to personal care products and fiberglass insulation, and now back to personal care products. So the point is with my, I have a chemical engineering degree with my MBA. That's not really that special. I've touched so many different products that touch the world that it's quite diverse. I didn't have to be pigeonholed or stuck in one certain aspect of the manufacturing field. The things that I learned in specialty chemicals and distillations did not directly apply into making drugs, but there was the knowledge base of manufacturing that it wasn't that big of a stretch. So it has allowed me a very diverse product portfolio that I have touched in my very brief career.
Not that I have to say, too, that sparkle in her eye where she's so excited talking about what she touches and makes. My husband will be 65 later this year, and to this day, he walks in my office and says, look, and he's a shiny part that he's so excited about. And it's and I have a lot of younger people in our organization now, and that's what I look for.
Nice.
Someone that gets excited, and someone, because we're a job shop, we have inventors coming in all the time. So it's fun. It's just fun, some of the things that we see.
You know,
Go ahead.
As a small business in specializing in raw materials and a service-oriented, we have gone through Six Sigma lean manufacturing with some of the big primes like Rolls-Royce turbine engines, and it's very exciting to have them, mentor us for 2 years, and I've taken my whole entire company through Six Sigma, 100%, right down to the assistant. And I think they all appreciate the training that they've gotten over the years, through Manzi Metals, appreciating that every part that, that leaves my facility. Our facility is 10,800 square feet, and we're in Brooksville, Florida. I want them to know that it's about quality, the appreciation of quality. We're certified ISO AS 9120, and we do that every year after year. We go through so much training within our company. To see those parts go out, we take pictures of the parts and post them on our website. So if you go to manzimetals.com, you're going to see a lot of different things. It's about saving American lives. I want them to understand the appreciation behind that and get excited. We often, have different classes, and the schools, come through and through our warehouse so that they can see the appreciation. I was one of those kids that went through, a manufacturing facility and got really excited. About the manufacturing, and said, yeah, I like that. I can do that. And, for all the young students that are out there, I hope that they all get a chance to visit, manufacturing facilities, because you're going to get really excited on fire and make this your career.
We have fun.
That's the theme of our session here. We have fun. Every young person, I believe, needs a mentor. They need somebody that can show them the ropes, tell them the challenges, tell them the opportunities. And I especially think young women need to have mentors who are in the workplace, who can really give them some good information that maybe they wouldn't traditionally either have access, or somebody wouldn't tell them in a traditional classroom. So I'm going to have Tara begin, but I want each of you, if you had the opportunity of a young woman sitting in front of you and you are their mentor, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them? Tara, what's your advice?
I would say if there's a problem in your manufacturing environment, or there's a challenge, be the first one to volunteer for it. I would always attack the one thing that nobody wants to touch, because I want to be able to say, I fixed that. I want to be able to say, I went in, I gathered a team, we figured out the problem, we got to root cause. And I always had that mentor that said, go after it, you can do it. And they'll coach me, and if I get to that point where I'm like, I don't know what to do, they would give me a course correction, or they'd motivate me. It's really important to have that backbone, that person that sees you and pulls you along the way, has that confidence in you before you do. And it's really important to go back and start doing that, because that was able to be done to me. And I have a mentor that I still talk to that's been incredible to me, and I wouldn't be where I am without him.
Jessica, what about you? What's your advice?
Well, just that you're going to be faced with challenges every single day. You're going to feel like you hit barriers or roadblocks. Everyone does. Women, men, that makes no difference. You're going to feel like you've hit a wall. There's no wall you can't push through. You just have to continue to fight. You have to continue to work hard in order to get where you want to be. Since I don't have a mentee right in front of me telling me this, I am going to do a little plug here. There are mentors available online at fabfems.org or at stemrolemodel.org. I'm listed, so find me. I am looking for mentees. So there are people out there, if you can't find them within your own education system, or you don't have someone through your family or through family of friends, go out there, find role models through the internet.
Cindy, what about you?
Don't wear your feelings on your shoulder. Learn to laugh at yourself, and kind of get over yourself a little bit. That's bottom line. I think some women go in expecting to have problems with men, and if you expect them, you'll get them. So don't expect it. I have never, whether it's man, woman, or whatever, I have never had a problem with folks who know things sharing their knowledge. People like to tell you what they know. Pick their brains, take them to lunch, learn from other people. And all of us as women, it's a fact, we use a lot more words than men do. When you're in a meeting or trying to get a point across, be cognizant of that and really try to hit the point and shorten it.
I think that's good, whether you're going into manufacturing or not. Good advice. Michelle, what's your thought?
Very good. My advice would be, one of the things that I don't think I followed very well early in my career is be true to your own personality. I was very busy trying to emulate people that weren't like me, whether it didn't matter if it was gender or personality, they just weren't like me. So be true to yourself and get to know yourself and believe in yourself. And that can take you wherever you want to go.
Irene.
Oh, actually, is what I was thinking kind of follows up what Michelle said. It's pretty much be yourself. Like sometimes you're maybe like, you have no idea. Something I've discovered is like no matter what rank that person you may be talking to, you can talk to them. Because sometimes you think, oh, this person is a CEO, this person is like so high up there, so I cannot like direct a word to him. That's not true. Like just talk to him, tell him what you feel, tell him what you think, because you have no idea like what the quietest people may have the greatest idea that you can imagine. And also be a sponge. Another thing is like if you are so set in what you think, what you feel, and you don't really like pay attention to what other people are telling you, you're not going anywhere. You have to be a sponge. You have to get what everyone tells you. It may sound like sometimes someone will tell you something, it will be so little, and you're like, I'm not going to pay attention to that. But later on, you hit a wall, and you're like, if I had paid attention to that, I wouldn't be here. So that's another thing. It's like, and with manufacturing, it comes a lot, like both ways. It's like you have to speak your mind. Even it may sound like, oh, this is maybe silly, but it may be perfect. And you have to listen to other people as well.
I found that training comes in all different forms. It comes through education, on hands, and I agree with the Manufacturing Association because I was one of those kids that, young ladies at the time, that thought that I wanted to learn a trade because I knew my mother and father couldn't afford the college training that I had. But you pick a field that you fall in love with, and I fell in love with the aerospace industry and got the mentoring through my former boss that just took us through training for whether it was stainless steel, titanium, Monel, Inconel, Hastelloy, high temperature alloys, and knowing what you could do with that product, the mentoring that you have behind it. I would say to a kid, to young students that you can do it. You can do it. I did it, and you can. My doors are always open to every single one of my employees, and I do mentoring all the time. It's not uncommon for me to be talking to someone at 11 o'clock at night. And, talking, mentoring someone and saying like this, you can do it. Get the quality assurance, get the education, take the classes on hands. My thing was finding the most, the person within the company that knew the most. That's the person that I wanted to mentor with. That's the person that I wanted to get the information from. I wanted to mirror that person. And, I tell my employees now, my door, every single office door in my company is glass. I want them to be able to see what I'm doing. I want them to hear what I'm doing. I want them to come in and ask questions, lots of questions.
I think that's great advice. The more questions that are asked, the more you have the opportunity to soak up the wisdom of the people around you. So let me turn that question in a different direction. Who might, and I open it up to the entire panel here, might give us an example of either a challenge or perhaps a misstep that you did along the way, and what did you do to solve the situation? Can you tell us can you tell us an example of something that maybe just didn't go quite right and how you resolved it?
Wow, there were so many.
I can go. Because I had touched on, you have to continue to work hard. So I had a short story, I swear I'll get to the point quickly. So I had come along my career path when I was a process improvement engineer. I had been working in the same position for a little over 7 years, and I didn't see what my next step was going to be. I had a colleague of mine that I was working with for a couple years that was a bit younger than myself, that was given a rotational opportunity that I was not asked if I was interested in. So that was a challenge for me. It felt like a barrier. It felt like I had been held back in a way. But what I didn't know was that my boss, who's still my boss at this time, was already carving out a future for me that he just couldn't quite let me know. He's created this management position for me and created a whole department under me for our continuous improvement program. Now, I didn't know that at the time, so I had a very big challenge, a perceived barrier, and a lot of hurt feelings. But I didn't wear my feelings on my sleeve. We touched on that. I didn't take it personal. I didn't let it bring me down. I didn't let it change all the hard work that I had already put in, and continued to work hard, and my efforts definitely paid off. So you're always going to come across challenges. You're always going to hit perceived barriers or barriers at that time. You just have to push through them. You have to work through them, because in the end, your efforts will pay off.
Cindy, you probably have had a challenge over the years. What would be an example?
More recently, something came to mind that I'm really embarrassed to even tell you, but I'll go ahead and go for it. It was with a customer, and I'm really good at customer service ordinarily. But this particular customer was one of those that puts us under tremendous pressure constantly. I mean, everybody wants it yesterday, but this one was to the nth degree. But we were having to do some additional processes when these parts came back from plating to make them perfection. It's the telecommunications industry, so the finishes are ridiculously more important than anything mechanical we'd ever done at that point. So, but my people were hyper vigilant about these parts being perfect. And they had, the owner of the company walks through the door, and after we had had many conversations about 2 o'clock, we will have them ready at 2 o'clock. He comes through the door at 11:30, wanting parts. And I let loose on him about what a pain in the you-know-where they were. And he said, well, that's not fair. And I said, would you please come to the shop floor with me and let me show you what we're doing to make these parts perfect for you. And he came with me, and he went through it. Long story short, it all worked out great, and I was able to grovel enough to get, and once the heat was died down, he said, there's no problem in defending your team. And that's what I had just had it with, because everybody in my organization was so hypervigilant in making sure those parts were perfection for him. But sometimes, we are going at such a pace that things get heated. But you can always correct even if your mouth overloads what you said. And so we're really good today. We're really good. But
Today's all about fun, remember?
yeah, occasionally there's a little, but with the fun, we're just going and pacing and having so much fun sometimes, and there you do collide a little bit, and tempers flare, but we fixed it.
Awesome. Well, I think customer service is something that is the highest priority for all of the women who are sitting up here. But Michelle, maybe I ask you this question. Are there things that might be unique for a woman or a young woman to know if she's going into manufacturing? Are there things that might be unique that women need to use as a filter when making their decision?
So I'm obviously speaking from my experiences, and everyone is an individual. But with my experiences, the uniqueness is that being a young engineer, going into a predominantly male population and a predominantly population that looked nothing like me, I had mentors early on, but they did not have the same perspective as I did. That was a big challenge. So the uniqueness is not necessarily that women are that different, but it is a difference in how the communication is. How people say, well, don't wear your emotions on your sleeve. I mistook that in saying, don't be emotional. So if you're not emotional and you hide your passion, you shouldn't do that. If you're passionate about something, I really think that should be shown. So it's a matter of, I do believe that women and men are wired differently in general. There are exceptions, but in general, we're wired differently. And in any organization, it's made up of individuals. So no matter where you go, you're going to have to learn the individuals, no matter what gender you are. So I'm going to go with what Cindy was saying. Don't go into it expecting, did you say trouble? If you didn't, don't go in and expect something. Mm-hmm. It's a new role. You have to learn the team. You have to learn the culture. Every organization has its own culture, and every plant or factory within that organization has a subculture. Listen, learn, listen some more, ask some questions. And so I don't think there's a uniqueness being a woman, except don't let that be a barrier.
Good suggestion. Well, we have amongst our panelists the diversity of jobs, everything from an intern to a CEO, but maybe somewhere in the middle of that, Tara, you're there. Tell us what you see as your next job. What is your next career path?
Okay, so just like when I was in college, I jumped around with lots of different internships to try to figure out what I liked, and that's how I ended up in manufacturing. In manufacturing, I've jumped around a lot as well. I mean, I've been in manufacturing engineering, production management, supply chain, now operations management. But what I can say is that all those different pieces where I had different challenges within those roles have given me this broad experience and little bit of understanding of each area in operations. And what that's helping me in my next role is to actually introduce new products into operations successfully. So knowing the pitfalls, knowing that we need to have design for manufacture, knowing that we need to have cost considerations, knowing that we need to have standard work and those types of lean methodologies implemented, I can go up front when we're doing design and making sure that we introduce products properly. So having that diverse experience in operations is going to help me make sure that we launch successful products into manufacturing.
I will tell you one story from a long time ago. We had a customer, older gentleman, and he had a problem dealing with me, and it was real clear. But what I did was backed up, had my husband and production manager deal directly with him, and I accepted his checks and took them to the bank every month.
Outstanding. It's all about the Benjamins.
I didn't need to talk to him.
That's funny.
So perhaps you all decide who's best to answer this question, but sometimes I think people pigeonhole what is manufacturing. It's either in a rural or it's in an urban, or it's this kind of making of a widget, or it's this assembly line. Can each of you define manufacturing in your set of lens? What does manufacturing mean to a person who says, well, I might have an interest in manufacturing, but I really don't know what that is? So, Cindy, maybe you start.
Yeah, I think it's exciting because we take blocks of metal and round bars of metal, and we make them into things that make machinery work, and it's exciting. And I think we make widgets. I say we make widgets because we make precision machine parts that go into machinery. So it's not always something that the JOCU public can relate to. But recently we've been making dies for the you know, everywhere you go, there's a straw with a paper cover on it. We make the dies that go into the plant that press the straw along the edge where it's rippled. We make that where it makes that straw. And sometimes I think in general, a lot of my path and what I didn't actually touch and make product. Early in our business, I tried to deburr parts. Al, I found out what I cannot do. I cannot deburr a part. That was just out of my skill set. But there are, in manufacturing, I ran quality circles. I learned how the processes work. We have done a lot with lean trainings, and my role, I feel like what I do for younger people coming in, I want to make a place where they can come in and learn and go through. There's quality, there's shipping and receiving, there's packaging, there's so many options under that umbrella of manufacturing that there are machine operators, or there are engineers that are designing these things. There are CAD operators that are running the CAD programs and making the programs for the CNC machines. It's such a wide variety. I think that probably another opportunity as students that you can, some of the staffing companies in Jacksonville staff for companies that have seasonal products and seasonal things they do. You could actually work through one of these services and work in different companies at different times and get a real good cross-section of what manufacturing is in your area and what's available in those types of careers and what will pique your interest. And then you can make your path in that direction with your education.
And excuse me, I'd like to add to that. Some people have a conception that manufacturing is a factory. We've discussed that yesterday and today. But if you even think about how you start your day, at least how I start my day, is I get in the shower. So there is somewhere in every community that is manufacturing clean water for us to take a shower. You can go downstairs or upstairs or somewhere, and I drink coffee. There's someone who's manufacturing the cup, whether it's a paper cup or a ceramic cup. Someone is grinding the coffee and pre-packaging it and sending it to the grocery store. And you could just follow your day, and you're sitting down in a chair. You can follow your day the whole way through, and it doesn't take very long to see all the different facets that manufacturing touches us. And without it, I don't even like to go without hot water, so I wouldn't make it very long. But without it, our life would be extremely different. So when you say all the different ways it can go in, and then from a career path, it's procurement, it's environmental, it's safety, it's not just the engineering part that touches the
Right.
science, technology, engineering, and math pieces of it. It's the accountants, the statisticians, it's a lot of different things that the applied math and scientists influence in manufacturing.
I would like to add something to that because I feel manufacturing, yes, is the many things that you can also do, but for me, manufacturing is also teamwork. There's nothing that you can do if you don't have a team. So manufacturing brings up that in people. And when I say a team, is not like you're always going to be the leader, because you're not. Manufacturing is also having to learn how to be a leader and let someone lead other times. Knowing when to step in, knowing when to let someone else shine and push them to shine even brighter. That is something that manufacturing, it's a requirement. Like, you cannot have manufacturing if you do not have a team. Like, it's just something that you need.
Manufacturing is not is also, having a team, but it's all different forms of manufacturing. At Manzi Metals, we do light manufacturing, and when I say light manufacturing, it's taking a bar and cutting it to size, tight tolerances, paying attention, to the what the customer is asking, paying attention to the customer's drawings, and doing the flow process, the actual, the heat numbers and stuff, things like that. It's very intricate details of the flow process, and it can be very, very light As a multi-metals distributor, I find, over the 25 years, there are more and more companies coming to our company because we are a multi-metals distributor and asking us to do light manufacturing. And it could be as simple as cutting a bar, cutting a flat bar to different tolerances, and partnering with fantastic CNC machine shops to do the CNC and follow our drawings that we pass along, and coming back into Manzi Metals and doing the quality assurance because we have the certifications, and back out the door, to our customers. So there's all kinds of forms of manufacturing.
Yeah, I agree. And just to go into like my world of manufacturing, so you guys do light manufacturing. We don't do any fabrication in my site. We do all assembly and test. But we have 3,000 pieces coming together to build this entire robot system that's going to be used for a medical procedure. So yes, it's all ranges of manufacturing, from the light manufacturing to just assembly and test to get out the door, and to
many
to
partners.
widgets. So yeah, many.
And many partners along the way.
And some may shy away from manufacturing because they view it as noisy or dirty. And that's just a perception, an old school perception that's still out there, but it's not nearly as noisy as you may think, and it's certainly not as dirty as you may think, especially where you get into the medical field and things like that in assembly. But my desk personally, it's out on the shop floor. I'm next to equipment, next to machinery, multi-ton pieces of machinery that's doing milling, drilling, and grinding. And even with those processes right next to my desk, I can have a cup of water on my desk and there's nothing in it at the end of the day. I mean, it's clean. I can hear myself think and that sort of thing. So you just also have to keep in mind that manufacturing's changed so much over the years. There's not somebody next to that piece of equipment getting covered in filth. Now they're sitting at a desk, they're programming that equipment from their desk, and they're bringing that 3D model, and they're programming it right in to run a piece of equipment, and the inspection's happening on the piece of equipment where the machine's telling them if it's in tolerance or if it's out of tolerance, and that sort of thing. That's what's happening in manufacturing.
I agree. My manufacturing floor is cleaner than my
Yeah.
house. So.
Which we're sure is very clean.
Very organized.
Let me ask a very different question for you all. As we see young people coming up through our education system, sometimes we see a real difference in the females as they go into tracks of science or technology or computer science versus the young boys that are going into science and math and technology, traditional STEM areas. And we hear sometimes, oh, I don't need math. Or we hear, oh, well, if math's involved, I can't possibly go into those careers. Who can talk to the issue as we have young people listening to you leaders, women leaders in manufacturing? Tell us the real scoop. What is it about the sciences and math that we either need to think about or we either need to dispel the myths surrounding it?
It's just that, a myth. There's nothing that in my operation that women can't do that the guys do. It's just from a long time ago. And like I said, my mother did absolutely nothing as far as mechanically around the house. My father did that all. I was more curious, and I did a lot more things for myself. My daughter today is her handyman, her husband's not. So she's the handyman in her house because she had a mother telling her she can do everything the guys can do. So and I think generationally we're getting further and further from those myths about what women can and can't do. And I think that, I think we only stop ourselves in our own minds. Just like the term disadvantaged that's overused, I think, in our society. I think you're only disadvantaged in the manufacturing world as a woman if you are up here before you walk in the plant. I think you make it yourself. I don't think that it has to exist.
I have a son, and I can tell you a bazillion stories about him. He's 7, so I can't speak from an educator standpoint, but I can speak just as a mother. When I evaluated the programs going into kindergarten, they were great from an English and vocabulary standpoint. They just weren't strong enough for me personally from a math, so I put him in extra math. I have to tell you, he hates this. So it's not a girl-boy thing. I think it's valuing the math portion of it. So I do make him do extra math because I think it's necessary for the future of what we as a country are going to demand from employees. The other part, from a science standpoint, is the world is a miraculous place. So I always tried to explain the world from the biology and from the nature and from the, oh my gosh, you see how it rains, and when you twirl this thing around and you're riding your razor, see how you go in a circle. You try to demonstrate things from the physics, but you don't put it in those terms. I mean, if you have science and you apply it in a day-to-day basis and make the world seem fabulous, because it really is, then you open up, not like the boring, the textbook physics, or you're not going to throw out differential equations to 7th graders, but just to have it apply to what they do every day. I think that's part of it. The biggest thing I see in the market is you can make slime at home. It's very fun, by the way. It's not very water soluble, but I'll give you some pointers on that later. Cleanup's terrible. But the other thing that I see just in my little 7-year-old is Legos. They're creating daily. And then you can turn Legos into applied robotics pretty simply. And Legos is actually getting into that too. I'm not pegging the brand, I'm just using that as an example. So my point is that if you encourage and explain the wonders of how our world works, I think it's a natural fall into science and math. That's just me personally.
There's something I wanted to mention. Like, honestly, I'm 20 years old, and I've never experienced any discrimination for being a woman. Not in the industry, not in my classes, not since I came to America, not every time I lived in Minnesota, not one time I felt, no, you're a woman, you can't do that. And if you tell me that, then I'm gonna do it. You can be sure of that. I'm not gonna yeah. Tell me you're a woman, you can't. Nah. I'll show you I can. So pretty much it's the fact that it's like, it's what you have in your mind, is how you set your mind to be. And it's just, I have a brother, and well, I honestly just rub in his face that I've had more job experience than he has. It's just, he's older than me, and I've had 3 jobs so far. He has 1, and I'm like, huh, look at me. So it's the fact that it's not what they tell you. It's like, don't listen to them. Don't listen to whoever tells you, oh, that's manufacturing, you're gonna get dirty. So what if you're gonna get dirty? Get dirty is fun. Like, I can tell you that. I've been walking around in my tech in a bodysuit, like a white bodysuit full of like oil and whatever, and guess what? I had fun. I sweat and I had so much fun, because getting dirty is not a bad thing. You can always take a shower. You can always, and guess what? You can't take a shower because of what she said, because of manufacturing. Like, getting dirty is not a problem. Unless you're going on a date later, guess what? Take a shower before. It's like, it's never gonna be a problem.
It's a good idea anyway.
Yeah. It's never gonna be a problem getting dirty. Stop looking at getting dirty like it's a bad thing. Like, getting dirty is not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. Believe me, there's nothing. Like, I love it. Like, I'm the kind of person that's like, if it means dirty, that means fun. That definitely does. And with math, it's like there's many things that you can learn things. Okay, sometimes you're gonna go I'm going to my classes right now. I'm doing masters because I'm doing a master's in engineering management and like my industrial engineering classes at the same time. I graduate next year. And believe me, sometimes I go to classes and I'm like, good Lord, how am I gonna survive this? And guess what? It's not about the class, it's not about the math, it's not about that. It's about the way that you learn. I was a tutor for around 3 years. And I have discovered that you may teach math this way and that person is never gonna get it. But if you go that way, then that person is gonna fall in love with it. Because maybe one person is gonna be more visual, another person is gonna be more like, oh, I like to write it down, or I like to listen to it. So if you feel like, if you're a student and you feel that you're not liking a class, if you feel that you're not liking math, why don't you try going on another way? Right now online, there's so many different resources that it's like, it's impossible not to find a different way to learn math. It's impossible not to find a different way to learn physics or anything. And maybe you'll find a way to like it if you look at it another way. So don't get stuck, oh, because they teach it this way in school, then I don't like it. Or, oh, this is what they're teaching me in school. Yeah. So I don't like it. If there's something I've discovered is like, I've had classes that I've hated. But at the end, I end up going and I go online or I go to a friend. Oh, he already took this class. Let me ask him, and he teaches me something else. And I end up even going like even further because I ended up falling in love with it. So it's the kind of thing that is like, don't limit yourself to what they're giving you. You have to reach further, and you're gonna discover what you're really good at.
Well said.
Well said. So we want the young men and women watching this panel today to know that manufacturing is a wonderful career to go into, but let's take them into 10 years from now. So put a lens on, we've magically turned it 10 years into the future. Where are you, or where is manufacturing going to be? Who wants to start?
She's going to be a CEO somewhere. I can already tell that.
Well, manufacturing is like, it's always gonna be here. Like, you know how since I was little, I would watch those cartoons and you would see how they were like flying cars and things like that. Well, if you wanna get there, you need manufacturing. So it's always gonna be there. Like, it's never gonna go away. We're human, we want everything. So it's just, if you want everything, you wanna build everything, you wanna construct everything, you wanna produce everything, you're gonna have manufacturing. It's always gonna be there. It's always gonna like be part of your life no matter where you are. Even if you are in the middle of nowhere in the desert, you're gonna have a satellite that is gonna know that you're there because there's cameras everywhere that you go to. So it's just like, it's the kind of thing that it's like manufacturing will always be around. So if you go in manufacturing, you're always gonna have a future for sure. Like that's the kind of thing, like even, okay, maybe the company that you were working at worked out, but guess what? You're gonna have the experience or you're not gonna be able to go somewhere else. So it's just the kind of thing that is never gonna go away. It's the career that is always gonna be there. And for women in manufacturing, it's like, I can see that, I hope that this gets people excited and gets like, all the women are gonna be like, yeah, I would really wanna look into this because I feel that with we live in a world that is so hungry for equality, so hungry for like, I want all the same rights, all the same everything, that I feel like women are like starting to like push up and say, I want to be better, I want to like improve myself. And that will lead them not only to be better than men, because it's not about being better than men, it's about being the same, but that will lead them to be better persons that will take them to leadership roles and like important positions that we will see in manufacturing, a lot of women being in a really high position, like her, that she's a CEO in her own thing.
10 years.
Here's an example. Imagine how where she will be 10 years from now.
I think the term is reshore, I've heard before, but we too, like Al mentioned earlier, we're seeing manufacturing come back onshore from other countries because companies are wanting you to be close by so that they can do changes, and the world is moving at such a clip. Products they don't stay the same very long at all. They don't have time to wait on a ship to come from wherever. So they're coming back and they're to be more nimble, and we're seeing a lot of that. So I think 10 years from now, I think every generation, every 10 years, you're gonna see more and more and more where we won't be having this discussion about men, women. It's just people in manufacturing, and it's, I saw it from my mother's generation to mine, to my daughter. So it's just going to get better and better. I think we'll just get further away from those preconceived notions that we all grew up with.
Well, and Cindy, I agree with you. I'd like to add to that the question of how we think manufacturing is going to be in 10 years. From a consumer standpoint, we see it today as the information technology is readily available to almost everyone, including my 70-year-old mother who has her new smartphone. But what the point of that is it's changing how consumers are not only communicating with what they want from a consumer product and want to purchase on shelf, but it's changing the whole face of how consumer products are being delivered. So the demand is much higher, and the agility to shelf is a much stricter demand. So manufacturers are going to have to change the way they think and be smarter in how they do it in order to meet that consumer demand, or there's going to be another company out there that is going to figure it out. So that's part of being in manufacturing, is where there's a lot of manufacturers out there. You have to figure out within your own business and within your niche how you're going to do it your way, better, faster, smarter, cheaper, safer, all that kind of stuff that goes with manufacturing. But the information age is absolutely changing the way manufacturing is not only performing, but what the consumer is demanding.
And I agree, because I think with the information age, it's your voice of customer is coming in much clearer from many different inputs, and we're going to have to be able to react much faster.
Agreed.
We're going to have to design products much faster. We're going to have to approve them much faster. Medical and device industry, get them through approval processes much faster, because the customers aren't going to be waiting. They want their products and they want them now.
10 years from now, for the young lady or the young man that is going through training, they may fall in love with that trade that they're going into, and they may be the next company to be an entrepreneur and open up their own companies. So it's very important. They'll be following so many quality assurances and so many different things that it'll take them into because of their excitement of what they're doing. They'll want to learn more. They'll want to become entrepreneurs. I'm excited for them, and I would say go for it.
And just for the career that I'm in, I'm working in the energy industry. So I know for the next 10 years, you're still going to need to turn on your light switch, right? So I know it's going to be there for the long haul in the future and beyond. But regardless, even though what your need is still going to be there, what we're manufacturing is going to continue to change, which makes our job so interesting, so exciting, creative and different every single day. I mean, your computer used to be yay big and it took you 20 minutes in order to get just online, and now it's on your watch and it's telling you need to be walking more because you've been sitting all day. And so now the technology, the way that it's changing our jobs, it's changing what we make, how we make, and I'm just excited to see what the future holds. I don't know, but we won't be talking about men versus women and the ratio of each in the industry. I know that in the next 10 years that's going to continue to change, and that's exciting as well.
Do you even know what a vacuum tube is?
When I started out in working,
We had typewriters, seriously. So it is fascinating what has changed in my lifetime and in your lifetime, because it's going at such a faster clip, because the computers feed on themselves and gets faster and smarter. What you're going to see is incredibly exciting from even what my generation saw.
So we have one last question, and I'm going to ask you to give it to me as a one word.
Ooh.
If I say, get into manufacturing because, your answer is manufacturing is blank. What's the
Fun.
one word? Fun.
Saves lives.
Saves lives.
Powerful.
Powerful.
Passionate.
Passionate.
Lucrative? Sorry.
Lucrative.
That's good.
That's a really good word.
And ongoing.
Ongoing.
Technology at its best.
Well, I hope all of you have enjoyed this segment. We are here to announce today that these women are going to be the inaugural class of Elite Women in Manufacturing. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.